Welcome to The Next Film. Today, I am talking to filmmaker John-Michael Powell. He is the writer-director of Violent End, starring Billy Magnuson, Alexandra Shipp, Kate Burton, and a really incredible ensemble. The film was picked up by IFC and released in over 700 theaters and is now streaming on AMC+. His first feature, The Send-Off, was a true micro-budget that premiered here in LA at Dances with Films in 2022, which is also where my first feature premiered. So that was like immediately, I felt connected to your journey. I'm very excited to talk to him for a lot of reasons, and I have so many questions that we're probably not going to get to all of them. But what I love most about your journey is jumping from a micro budget to, are we allowed to say the budget on the screen? 2, 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I did my research and looked at interviews and looked it up, but I felt like I was getting both. So I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to pinpoint it. Somewhere around there.
Depending on tax incentives and how all that stuff lands. Yeah, in that ballpark.
Okay, cool. So, but that jump from micro budget, which your first feature was like.
First feature was, I think, all in was maybe 70.
Okay.
70,
wow. 80, yeah. Dope.
Okay. 70,000.
So that to 2 to 3 million is so exciting. So. Also, congrats.
Thank you.
And I feel like we don't hear about that jump a lot unless it's like the grand jury winner of Sundance.
Right, which the send-off most certainly was not.
No, but I feel like that says a lot about like you and, you know, believing in yourself and like your vision. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to jump in.
Excited to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. Like I said, I have already done a ton of research. I've watched the interviews, so there's some things that I know. Like it took about like 10 years to get Violent Ends made because it started in 2013.
It did. That's when the first draft kind of fomented. Yeah. It was not a quick journey. It was full of all the obstacles and hurdles you could imagine.
Right. Yeah. And so Aaron Paul was originally attached to play.
Yeah,
Billy's
there was a version. Like I said, I wrote it in 2013, and I think it took about 4 years to get the project put together in a way that where Aaron was attached to play the lead role. Jane Lynch was going to play his mother. And then there was David Dasmalchian, who's kind of blown up now, was going to play the villain. And Ido Goldberg, who was at the time on Peaky Blinders.
So you had like a whole cast.
Had a whole cast. We had the whole thing put together.
Okay, yeah. I see. I thought it was just like Aaron attached.
No.
Entire...
We had the whole thing put together. It was blood, sweat, and tears just to get to that point.
Oh my God.
And we were about, I want to say maybe 6 weeks away from shooting, and the whole thing fell apart. And it was that
breaks my heart. Obviously it all worked out, but
all's well that ends well. But at the time, it was gut wrenching. It was and so prior to that, I had also spent so much of my early career as an editor. So I'd been working, before that. I think I moved out to LA in 2006-ish. So I'd been grinding and working for 10 years up until that point just to get the opportunity.
Yeah. And you had always wanted to do that? Make a film?
Yes. I knew, when I came out to LA that I wanted to be a writer-director. I thought, okay, I didn't go to USC or NYU or one of these prestigious film schools. Same. And I knew nobody. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, is where I grew up. So like I literally got in my Jeep and drove to LA and was like, hey, okay, I'm going to figure this out.
I love it.
And I knew nobody. So it wasn't like I had doors open when I got here. So I thought, well, if I want to write and direct, I'm going to be an editor, because I thought, well, if I edit, then I'll see how the process works. Kind of see how the sausage is made, so to speak. And, kind of reverse engineer a career and find the right time to back into writing and directing. I ended up editing, I would say, for a little bit longer than I expected. Okay. But that's simply because my career as an editor actually kind of started taking off, and I had stability, and it was a paycheck. And and I love editing. It was more than a paycheck, because I really do love the craft of editing. But I had always
wanted to make a movie.
Always wanted to be a writer-director.
How do you keep going when that happens? Like after it all, I mean, first of all, I think 4 years too, just even packaging it, and then obviously it falling apart too.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have a relentless drive to make things, and I don't know. I don't know where that I mean, I think some of that comes from just like my upbringing. Like I didn't have any siblings. I was an only child, so a lot of my childhood was spent entertaining myself. I think that's where just the nature of like making things comes from me sitting in a room with a bin of Legos going like, okay, I've got nothing to do. I've got nobody to play with, so I'm going to figure out how to build something myself. I think that's the kernel of the creative mind that I have. But then on top of that, it's like I didn't have any siblings. My dad passed away when I was young, so it was just me and my mom. So like I had to kind of, become an adult very early on and like learn how to take care of myself. And so I don't know, I not to turn it into some sob story, but like, I had many, many setbacks as a child, many unfortunate like deaths and loss and things like that. And I think it sucks, but I will say like the silver lining of that is like, I'm pretty damn resilient when it comes to like getting punched in the gut because it happened so much when I was younger that I'm just like, I don't know, it doesn't faze me. And I mean, I guess some of it is that's where the resiliency and the creativity comes from. And the other side of it is I think a lot of this business is, I mean, I've talked to so many filmmakers. I mean, filmmakers who have been doing it much, much longer than me. Everybody who I've talked to describes this process as a marathon. And it's so easy to get caught up in the mentality that this is a sprint when it's just not. If you're going to sprint out the gate, you're going to get exhausted and you're going to bail.
Yeah.
And so you've got to train yourself like a marathon runner. And I have friends who, act, and like that is, I think it's a really good sector of this industry to work in, to work up your fortitude, because as an actor you're going out every day and getting punched in the face. As a director I'm getting punched in the face maybe every few weeks, but as an actor you're out there every day. You're exposing your literal physical self to judgment every millisecond. And
I'm an actor first, so
so there you go. So
I get
and
it.
so like you just got to, in this business you've got to build up some metal and like deal with getting punched in the face and just kind of laugh it off and keep going, because
we still have to stay creative and vulnerable on top of that.
On top of all that. I don't know. It's just I don't know how to do anything else. I've spent most of my life now at this point thinking about cinema, thinking about movies, making stories and crafting things. And I don't know, I'm just kind of relentless in that way. And you made the comment earlier that's like, well, it's not that common to go from a micro budget to the bigger budget kind of thing. And I still maintain like, okay, I've taken the steps and, I'm happy with the steps I've taken so far. I'd like to keep taking steps up, but if I don't, that's okay. I'm going to go back and I'll just continue making movies on my iPhone.
Right.
If that's what's in the cards. So
I love that. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I don't know what else to do with my life. So I'm going to go 110%.
Yeah, I love that. And on top of your journey too, you said you had another feature that was going to be made by Sony that fell apart because of COVID.
Yeah.
What was next? Then something else with the strikes, or no? That was was after the send off.
There was so many. There's so many things. So in 2017, after Aaron Paul iteration of Violent Ends fell apart, I went and wrote some other stuff. And yes, there was a script that was passed around that ended up at Sony Worldwide that is no longer a thing anymore. And that was an interesting process because they were like, look, we're going to give you the money. We're going to green light it. Conditional on you have to cast one of these 100 men. The main character was a male. And they were like, a man in their 50s. So, great. But the problem was it was like Willem Dafoe and like Jeff Daniels and Jeff Bridges and all these people. You're like, yeah, they're not going to give me the time of day. But I was like, all right, we'll do it. And so I think we made we definitely made an offer to Willem Dafoe. One of the highlights of my career was he said no, but wrote a letter that was very lovely.
Oh, wow.
And getting a rejection letter from Willem Dafoe was like,
just frame it.
I was like, well, that's amazing. And he had very sweet things to say about the project.
But I love that. I think you never hear about that.
Well, most of the time you never even
you get a pass from their agent or something.
Yeah. If that, if you even hear back from the agent. But no, he took the time to write a lovely email. That was a career win. But I think we made one other offer and then COVID hit and Sony was like, we're putting everything on ice. Nobody knows what's going to happen. The world went kind of in lockdown, and that's when up until that point I'd been hitting wall after wall after wall and getting so close that's what led to the send-off. Was like I'm tired of waiting and not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
So, whether it's a pandemic or not, I'm going to go make a movie.
Yeah. Incredible.
And we did. And honestly, it was that initiative of just going and making the thing with my friends that actually led to Violent Ends finally getting made. So in hindsight, I wish I would have known what I know now, and in 2009 or 13, whatever, would have just made my first micro-budget movie and just proved to someone that I actually was competent at telling stories. Because it really is, that this is a recurring theme that I've found in this career, of mine, is that the best thing you can do is just to do.
Yeah.
And if you sit around and take this town, LA, where we are and where I live, is full of meetings. You can sit around taking a bunch of meetings and having conversations about ideas. And ideas are fun, but at a certain point, you got to put your idea into action, or else it's just going to stay an idea.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk that happens that no one's doing.
I mean, that's what we're kind of doing here too.
Well, that's fair. Yes.
But hopefully the talk here will lead to someone saying, okay, I'm going to take the initiative, because that's what it takes. Is it really, I know this is going to sound like I'm diminishing how challenging it is, but it actually isn't really hard to make movies. It's just like you just got to do it. And literally anyone can pick up a camera and tell a story with images. That's all it is. And there's most of the time it's our own, our own setbacks and our own psychological kind of like hammering of ourselves that gets in the way. If you just ignore that and
just get out of your own way,
just walk out the front door with a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, you just start shooting. You'll have a movie eventually. And you keep doing that. You watch it. It's going to suck. And you're going to, this is awful. And then you're going to go back and you're going to do it again. And every time you're going to take what you learned from the last one and you're going to roll that into the next one. And, it might take 10, 20 years like it has for me. It might not. I was sitting down having a conversation with a young actress last night who's 21, 22, and she's blowing up. Just like, and she went from living in Nashville, Tennessee, to suddenly she's in big movies with big actors, and she's about to be on a Netflix show for the next. And, she said to me last night, she said, I wish I could just fast forward to be 35. And I said, oh my God, don't say that. No. I said, don't say that, because, I mean, you only have so much time. And like your 20s should be a time, I think, of floundering and figuring out things. And I was a blob until, I was joking with someone that I was a blob until I met my wife. I met my wife when I was 28. Didn't get married till I was, in my 30s. And up until that point, I was just trying to figure out how to be a human. The challenge with being a 22-year-old who suddenly has the keys to the castle is you're not afforded that opportunity to be a blob and figure yourself out. And so it's like she's 22, but she's being asked by the industry to perform and act as if she's an adult. And I'm like, you're not an adult when you're 22. You should be a kid. You should still not be afraid to make mistakes. And that's when you're an actor who's 22 and on camera, you're not really allowed to make mistakes. And so that's a challenge. And so I was saying to her, I was like, man, yeah, it's been challenging for me. It's taken a long time and it's hard. But I was like, even for you who's 21 and you now have the keys to the castle, I would still try to find ways to make mistakes and like not try to live up to other people's expectations and try to figure out who you are. This industry is really good at trying to tell you who you are. It's like so much of your creative life has to be spent pushing back and saying, you don't get to tell me who I am. I'll be who I am, and just not settling for other people's expectations. I don't know where that started and how we got on that as a rant.
No, I think it's really true, though. Like, I think knowing yourself and who you are is so important for any creative, because, like, if you don't, like, you're just going to get lost along the way, and you're going to forget, like, why you're even doing this. And
it's a journey. I mean, do you know who you are? I feel like
you're constantly learning. Yeah.
I'm 43 years old. I got 2 kids, and I still feel like I'm figuring out who I am. And, and I don't even know. I think that's true of my filmmaking. I'm still figuring out who I am as a filmmaker. My tastes are varied. I watch everything, and I like everything and hate everything. So like, I don't know. It's a constant. I think I'll be on my deathbed and be like, I'm still who? What is this? What are we doing? This is weird. I don't. Yeah.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. So you said the send off led you to Violent Ends. How exactly was that bridge?
Well, I mean, literally.
Yeah.
So when I was going to make the send off, again, micro budget, nothing. shot that movie at my house. So the whole
cool.
movie takes place at my house. It's all basically a single location film. And at the 11th hour, I was going to finance the film myself, purely on savings. At the 11th hour, a mutual friend of mine, my wife and I had known them for years, called up and said, "Hey, I heard you're making this movie. We want to be involved." And I said, "That's great, but you're gonna lose your money. Don't do it. There's no, it's a risk." And thankfully he and his wife didn't mind, and they were like, "We want to be involved." So they ended up splitting the cost of, the send off with me. And after that, I kind of had a dinner with them, and it was actually at Dances with Films. We were at the premiere, like a dinner that night, and they came in town, and it was all exciting. And we were at the Chinese theater showing the movie, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And for them, they were like, "What are we going to do next?" And I was like, "Well, just to temper expectations." I was like, I want to make something that's, grander in scale. And, I have kind of ambitions there, and that probably becomes cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And they were pretty unwavering, and they were like, "No, we want to be involved." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so those investors who are mutual friends who ended up being involved on the send-off ended up being involved on Violent Ends, and actually being the ones who helped get the ball rolling and getting the movie pushing towards getting greenlit.
Wow.
But, so it was just serendipity.
Awesome.
And and the thing is that we had been friends for years. And they're not in the film industry at all. They're like suburban family from Utah, and had no idea they were any desire to be in the movie industry. And now, years later, we're creative partners.
That's what happened with my first feature, where I was a bartender at a cigar bar in New York.
Oh.
And you would never know who could be interested in investing in your film, or who had money hiding. And it was one of those things where I don't know, but now that I actually jumped the gun and am making this film, and you're now, telling people about it, someone who I never would have guessed was like, "I'll put in 10 grand. And I'm like, what?
I mean,
I would have never asked that. I would have never expected that until you make that decision of I'm going to make this movie.
Well, I do think one of the most important things you can do is plant a flag and just say, I'm making this movie. It's going to happen April 17th. That's when we're going to start production. And, these are our goals. And if you move through the world with that kind of mentality, you'll see things start to orbit, and you attract things just naturally.
Yeah.
And so much of everything in life is just confidence, which is also not
and a little delusion.
Oh, well, a lot of delusion. I mean, I think more and more as the days go by, that is just how reality works. It's confidence and delusion. Yeah.
Yes. So why were you so set on not doing another micro budget and leveling up, and also not leveling up to 500,000 or something, making that jump?
I would have been. Quite frankly, had I not had the script for Violent Ends, and because it had that momentum of the Aaron Paul stuff in the past, it naturally came up.
Okay.
Because it was always the Aaron Paul project. It was always orbiting out there. And I literally set it aside only because I needed to focus on other things creatively. I'd spent so much time and energy in it. And then it just naturally came back around. I had written other things, and I had even, thought about doing stuff for definitely sub 1 million. I was like, okay, maybe if I could go from 80K to sub 1 million. But Violent Ends just kind of told me it was going to happen. And I had no real say in the matter. And you brought up earlier, you were like, well, there was the COVID of it all with this send off, and then that other script at Sony Worldwide. When we went to go make Violent Ends, the actor strike and the writer strike hit. So literally the second we were greenlit, we got told that, oh, well, you can't make any offers to actors. So then we're like, all right, great, the project's going to fall apart again.
Another wall.
But we applied for the waiver. We ended up getting it. It was a torturous process that I'll spare you the details of.
Well, I've heard you talk about it on another podcast, which I definitely recommend. All the other interviews that you've done, they're all really great. So
you can parse together the pain. But yeah, that was a torturous process. But we did end up getting the SAG waiver at the 11th hour. And I do think in hindsight, the fact that everybody wasn't working meant we were able to assemble a cast that was probably punching above our weight class a little bit.
You have an incredible ensemble. They're really great.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Magnuson is incredible. He's about to be in this new AMC series. Yeah, and then Alexandra Shipp was in Barbie.
Yeah,
and
she's great.
She's great.
She's great in everything. Yeah,
she's lovely. She's just a great human being. Nick Stahl has been around since the 90s. He's great. James Badge Dale, Kate Burton. These are all these are all actors who are constantly working, and we just lucked into. I mean, I remember when the names started floating in, we were like, whoa, we have a shot at these people.
Did the budget change from the Aaron Paul version to this version?
Well, it must have. I mean, it definitely, the economics changed because you're talking about 2017 versus 2023 when we shot Violent Ends. And I know back then we were probably, I think we were shooting in Kentucky back in 2017, and the tax incentives were probably marginally similar. But I would say the economics probably shifted between, it stayed in the same ballpark.
Okay.
It wasn't like it went from like a $10 million movie to a $1 million movie or anything like that. It stayed in relatively similar.
Did shooting in your home state or hometown like lend a lot of advantages?
I mean, huge. I mean, it's not that different than shooting in my own house. I mean, it's the same strategy. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Arkansas. I have a lot of friends in Arkansas in the film industry, and I knew two things. I knew if I went and shot in Arkansas, I could pull a lot of favors from friends. Obviously, that's prerequisite. Yeah. But also secondarily, I could speak the locals' language and connect with them personally, so that if, for instance, we're walking up to someone we don't know and we're going to ask a favor, like, hey, maybe we want to shoot at your racetrack because there's a car race sequence in the movie.
I was wondering, also, your production design is incredible. Your locations are incredible.
Thank you. Yeah. Christian Snell, our production designer, did an amazing.
The production value is really great.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, speaking of the Arkansas of it all, the home connection, and then locations, like that racetrack, there's a dirt race, stock car race scene in the movie. That was originally scripted to be a baseball game, high school baseball game, and we happened to be driving down a country road. Literally, we just got in our car and drove around Arkansas. We're like, let's look for places. Drove by that racetrack, and I said, whoa, let's go to see what this is about. It just so happened to be that the guy who owned the racetrack lived in a house on the back of the property. It's very Arkansas, very southern. And he was such a sweet guy. We knocked on his door and we were like, look, we have a movie. We're shooting. Would you be open to letting us shoot here? And not only was he like, hell yeah, you can shoot here. He was like, I'll get you all the race car drivers for free. They just want to race. They just want the opportunity to be on the track. So if you just buy them pizza, you just buy them food, they'll come out and drive or pay for gasoline. That's what we did. We paid for gasoline. And so all those drivers came out and just drove for free. So we ended up going from like a high school baseball game to a stock car race. And we put in flyers at the local church, and everybody in town just came and sat in the stands. So it suddenly went from it expanded the movie, the
production value is so high on that scene. Like I literally was thinking like, how the hell did you pull this off when I was watching it?
Just like,
well, because unfortunately, it's really hard for me to watch movies being like just a normal audience member.
Well,
so like I already
like that.
I'm watching your movie, but like, how the hell did he pull this off? But it's really incredible and exciting.
Literally just asking.
Wow.
It's just going up and saying, would you mind? And we got no's too. I mean, of course, we walked into some places and they're like, get out of here. But if you ask 10 times, you're going to get one yes.
Yeah. Well, so I shoot in my hometown in Ohio, and that's where I shot my first feature. And we got like an airport for free.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
so
shooting a restaurant for free. Yeah, that would never happen here.
Well, that's incredible because you got FAA regulations and everything.
Well, so it's like a private airport, but like the way that it looks on screen
looks like a
real airport. Yeah. And it was like how only in Ohio or Arkansas.
Only in the middle of the country. Yeah, in LA and New York, it's not possible. You go try to even park a car on the street, let alone a grip truck in LA,
right.
People are going to be, the cops are going to be there in 2 seconds.
Yeah, we were at a restaurant. We're like, oh, we can turn off the music so it's not in the background. I'm like,
so
thank you so
accommodating
much.
in these places.
Yeah. So did you find like how you were having to advocate for that budget level or no, because you had, like this one source of financing or how many? I don't know.
One. It was single source.
Wow. So you didn't have to like have a lot of like, I don't know, fights or like anything about like for that budget level or for
no
what
fights.
The
only fights. There's no fights. I got like I'm
quote unquote fight. Yeah, I don't mean like literal.
Creative conversations. I'm like the most laid back, chill person on the planet. But I certainly fought for more days.
Okay.
Like so that affects budget obviously. Mm-hmm. So I mean to me, I don't know. The budget is kind of. It's so funny that as creatives, we're so fascinated with the budget level of things because I truly don't think, and I have friends who've made $30 million movies. I was, around a $200-300 million. I've been around and orbiting big movies and the smallest movies. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a difference. Mm-hmm. I mean, certainly there is a difference in as much as, your footprint. Certainly you have a much bigger crew if you're shooting a $200 million movie. But the filmmaking of it isn't any different than if you're making a micro budget movie. It's literally just time. Like time is everything. And so that's why you say, well, did you have to advocate for the budget? No, but I had to advocate for my time.
Which
then obviously affects the budget. But, I think the most valuable thing, and we'll probably talk about this as we get along, is just like the most valuable thing you have as a filmmaker is days. And like the more days you have, the more opportunities you have to play in the sandbox and create something that's magical that ends up on screen. The less time you have, the more it starts to look like a documentary, and you have to go run on the fly and figure out the shots as you're going, and the movie tells you what it's going to be, which is not a bad way to make movies. You can make movies that way. It's just with the movies I want to make, it's just I like if I had more days to curate the image. That's what I'm advocating for.
So do you think that budget jump is more so because it allows you to actually show what you're capable of, or because of this like next, career standpoint, or like creative?
Now I'm going to call myself out and call my own bullshit. Is like because so let's put it this way. I don't think there's much difference between a $1 million movie and a $30 million movie. I think those are very similar. There is quite a big difference between an $80,000 movie and a $1 million movie.
Well, you just have more at your disposal in terms of like resources, talent.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, to me, the talent is the talent. Like the actors on the send-off were just as good as the actors on Violent Ends, and they all had different experiences and different methodologies. But that was similar. I'd say what's the biggest difference is when you're in an $80,000 movie, your crew is relatively small. So you're captaining a ship of 10 to 20 people. It's a lot easier to personally connect with those 10 to 20 people versus on Violent Ends, our crew was probably 100 people. And so, not every director is, looking to, I don't know if curate's the right word, but like foster relationships, personal relationships with your crew. I happen to be the type of person who likes knowing everybody and getting to know everybody and being personally connected to everybody. That's a very important thing to me. It gets harder and harder to do with the more people you have. And so that was a big learning lesson from the send-off to Violent Ends is like, there's only, again, going back, we only have so much time on set.
Yeah.
I want to walk around and say good morning to everybody on Transpo, all of them, see how their day is going. But there's only so much time.
Yeah.
I figured out very quickly on Violent Ends, going from parking my car at set to getting to rehearsals and blocking to say hello to everybody, it's just impossible. So then it's like navigating and rotating my days and making sure I'm checking in with everybody every other day, just doing everything I can to personally connect, because I do think if you personally connect, then your ability to captain and lead and push gets easier and easier. I mean, it's not always true. Every crew is different. It's a different organism. If you're on a $200 million movie and you're the director, it's just not possible to be talking to the third key grip and seeing, what they thought of, I don't know, one battle after another. It's just not, there's not enough hours in the day. I wish there was. So like that is a big leap.
That's so interesting though, because I feel like no one ever really talks about that. Like just the time management of it all and just getting to say hi to people. I would have never thought of that until
to me, time, especially as I get older, I have 2 kids now, time management is everything in my life. It's like I wake up, I have to take my kids to school. I have to deliver, script pages. I have to make calls. It just goes by so quickly that I just have to be so regimented about my day. And especially when you're in production, because ultimately, especially in independent production, because on Violent Ends, we're not shooting on a stage. We're shooting at a warehouse in rural Arkansas. That's where we're shooting. And the sun is going to go down at 5 o'clock because we're shooting in October and we have less daylight. So you only have so many hours in the day for setups. And like ultimately, that extra day on your budget that you're advocating for is extra setups. And so, everything is time management.
Is there something that you would do in your next film to kind of foster those relationships a little further? Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, well, first of all, you have to get better at, especially us who comes from the mentality of DIY. You have to literally pick up the tripod, put up the light, like do everything, especially when you're making a micro budget movie. If so much of it is on your shoulders. As you grow and as your crew gets wider and, bigger, you have to learn how to delegate and rely on other people to help you do those things and help you. Hopefully you amass people that have like-minded, sensibilities, and you foster a crew. You put together a crew that also are decent human beings that all have similar like-minded sensibilities, and you kind of do it as a team. And but that takes letting go, and filmmakers aren't good at letting go. That's just not what we're built to do.
But that is like my biggest challenge for myself with the second film I'm making is learning to delegate better, because I already learned from my first feature that I could do that better.
It's hard, and it's also hard to think about. You were just telling me a little bit ago about your significant other, and I'm married. How hard is it to find a significant other? Think about it's hard enough to do that. It's equally hard to find a creative partner because it is a marriage. And so, you've got to find people that you can rely upon. I'm very fortunate. I have two producers, Vinny Sieber and Undine Buka, who are my creative partners who I adore and I trust implicitly. My cinematographer, Elijah Guess, is like my brother from another mother. And these people who I've kind of surrounded myself with, I just know implicitly that I can rely upon them to help me, foster the right energy to lead and to get together everybody, treat people with respect, kindness, and foster excitement about whatever it is we're making. Because as you know, you get 10, 15, 20 days into production, it gets hard to get excited, especially when you're in rural Arkansas shooting in 40-degree weather and it's it's night. Everybody's so exhausted. So I don't know. It's a constant work in progress for myself, learning how to trust people and expand, what I can delegate to. Because I do think the big directors who are very successful, they're good at letting other people kind of carry the burden and so that they can be hyper focused on the creative aspects and the interpersonal relationships with actors, with crew, like DP, all that stuff. That's really where I think once you get to that place, at least in my experience, I've seen filmmakers go from being able to just put something on film, on camera, to really curating and really making something that's like meticulous and crafted. That's, at least for me, still where I'm trying to get, where I can really look at every frame and be like, okay, I really crafted every frame with intent and didn't have to cave to the schedule or the day or the sunlight going down, all these things that we do as independent filmmakers, because that's the nature of the beast. It really is. I'm going to keep hammering home. It's time. Everything is time.
That's the theme of the episode.
That's right. Yeah.
No, there's two things there. Hold on. I lost one of them, but I know one is I was listening to Sean Baker's creative partner, who's also his partner in life, Samantha Kwan. But she was saying how on Honora, it was like the first movie he felt like he didn't have to settle. And it's so, I just feel like sometimes with indie filmmakers, it's like there's so much like they're capable of, but...
Well, that's a great example. I mean, it's really interesting to hear, because Sean Baker's made 1,000 movies at this point. And the fact that he's just, for those of us who've watched Sean Baker movies for years, it's like to think, okay, the guy who made, Tangerine and Red Rocket and the Florida... These are, to me, big independent movies. And to think that Just Now on Honora, which I know is his most lauded, is finally he's to the place where he feels like he didn't have to settle. That's crazy. I think it just goes to show you that it takes years to get, even for those people. I'm sure you talk to the biggest filmmakers like Chris Nolan or something, and I'm sure they felt similar in it. I don't know, maybe he was like, oh, finally at Dunkirk, I got to make the movie I wanted to make. But you're like, dude, you've made seminal films. That's crazy.
Oh, the other thing, I heard you say on one of your interviews that you wish you would have shortlisted earlier. And I just found that like a nugget. Like I wrote that down for myself. Like, I mean, I've already been thinking about shortlisting and doing it. But
do it. No, I mean, again, time. You're never going to have enough time. And I think had I shortlisted earlier, I've written a new thing, and I will say, like, I've already started shortlisting. Like, I think the minute I finished the first draft, I was already creating key images and going, and some of those have changed, but like a lot of those anchor images are still the same. And I on the next film, I will walk on set with like a version 6 of my shot list. Whereas on, Violent Ends, it was V1. And it was just like, okay, we've got the blueprint and then we're going to go. And yeah, hindsight is 2020. I wish, if that's my advice, start shot listing immediately.
I mean, it still felt meticulous with your visual language. And how was that jump from the send-off to Violent Ends in terms of, were you thinking about visual language like how was that?
Yeah, I mean, the send-off is handheld. It is DIY. It's run and gun. Both have their merits. Like, look, I wrote the send-off in 7 days.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and which is not usual, but my friends and I had an idea on a Friday, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start writing this. By the next Friday, I had the draft, and I told my buddies who I'd pitched the idea to, I was like, you know what? Who Zach Sherman happens to be the lead in the movie. I had pitched him the idea. I was like, I think I have this idea for a movie, and I think maybe you could be the lead. And so he's like, yeah, it sounds good. Write it. And then the next week, I was like, look, I have a draft. I go, I don't want to do rewrites. I go, I think on this one, I just want to go make it. I don't want to sit around laboring over the draft for like a month or two before we kind of go, yeah, let's see if we can. I have a draft, let's go make it. And that was everything. That was the entire mantra with the send-off. And I think that is true of the visual language of the film. It's very like rough around the edges and wears its kind of roughness on its sleeve. And it was a movie where photographically we were finding images as we were shooting them. And so I think that gives that movie its own life. Violent Ends was so much more curated. It was so much more, Elijah Guess and I, the DP, we went in immediately going, okay, where the send-off is wild and untethered, Violent Ends, narratively maybe wild and untethered, but photographically is much more staid and rhythmical and, it's this train that's rolling down a track and building up steam as it goes along. And, so I think that was the visual metaphor, was just like, we're on this track. It's very kind of composed and very calculated. As it goes along, it builds up steam and really packs a punch by the end. But where the send-off, it's like hitting you in the face every second. It's just kind of it's like that obnoxious friend who like will not leave you alone kind of thing. So just two totally different things. And this, going back to what I said earlier, was like, I don't know who I am as a filmmaker still. I don't know what the next one's going to be like visually. I think maybe the story will tell me and I'll find that naturally. Maybe it'll be a hybrid of both. I don't know. But I hope that I'm getting to some place as a filmmaker where I'm figuring out what my visual style is. I think I am. But I don't know. I think that's something you can't really judge yourself.
I feel like that's always hindsight anyways.
Yeah. I think other people see things in you that you can't either. So it's like, if you ask me what my visual language is, I don't know. Maybe you could tell me. I don't know that I could tell you.
Yeah, I mean, there was this one meme I saw one time, and it was like how it was like a critic or someone breaking down the visual like thing of a film and like the meaning behind it and all this, and then it was like the filmmakers like we couldn't find a tripod.
Yeah, so we had to literally hold the camera.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I do think I'm very woo-woo when it comes to films and like how they come to and script and all that, and so I do think a lot of times it lends itself, like even hearing the process of the send-off, I'm like, I'm sure that lent to like the energy behind the film of like how fast it was put together and like the handheld and the script being written in 7 days. Like you probably 100%. Feel that, which is a good thing. You
do. Yeah, you do. And again, it's like, I think that, I don't know, man. Because I've made so many movies as an editor. I've made now a few films as a writer director. I've made many movies at this point in my career. I really do think the movies tell you what they need to be.
Yeah.
And like the movie is, you can do everything you can. Maybe the Nolans and the the PTAs out there are so calculated and meticulous that they've really got a stranglehold on their movies.
They've also had a lot of time in movies in general.
They
too.
have,
yeah.
But I still probably imagine those movies rear their head and tell PTA and Nolan, hey, no, you need to, this is the way it's going to be. I don't know, just movies have their own life and they become what they need to be.
Yeah.
And
well, even that scene in One Battle After Another, which was like my favorite movie of the year.
Mine too.
I was like, seen it 60 times.
Yeah.
But that car chase scene, which was phenomenal, they found that during the shoot.
Yeah, of
like
course.
that wasn't in the script. And it's like, how was that, like, hearing that, I was like, how is that not in the script? It feels so crucial to that scene and to the movie.
And it's a great example of, I think, a really valuable thing for a young filmmaker or anybody in, whatever age you're filmmaking, any creative person, is just like, is being pliable and being able to pivot. And like, I will say, that's one of the core things that I think editing has given me as a creative is I'm used to sitting around in a room I have a bunch of pieces of the puzzle to put together. One day I put the pieces of the puzzle together and it looks like a painting. And then the next day I go, it doesn't work. And you tear it all down and rebuild it again. And so I think because of that process and because I've spent so much of my creative life tearing creative things down and rebuilding them, that you don't become precious. And you go, you have an idea and sometimes the idea doesn't work. And sometimes you show up to set and the actor's like, I don't want to walk through that door. I want to climb through the window. And you go, well, man, I lit that door and I wrote it to go through. But you know what? Climb through the window. Let's see what happens. Then he climbs through the window and you go, oh, wait, this movie's about windows. And I didn't even realize, I mean, it's not about windows, but you get what I mean.
No, yeah, that 100%.
You discover things, it tells you what it needs to be. And that's part of the energy of a set, like the actor, the DP, all these people coming together into this biological cellular organism that is all hopefully pointing towards some intent, but it's never a straight course. It's just kind of you figure it out together.
Was there any specific things that come to mind with Violent Ends that told you like that?
To be frank, I think when I wrote the script, I don't often write with actors in mind, but because I had spent so many years with the story and with the script and with the language. I'm from Arkansas. A lot of the dialogue is just my mother. That's how she speaks. That I had a preconceived notion of actors. And to be quite frank, Billy Magnuson, who plays the lead, Lucas, I think when I wrote the script, I had imagined the figure as much more gaunt, or much more lithe and kind of lean. Billy showed up to set and he had just done this show, The Franchise, with Sam Mendes, where he plays basically a proxy of Captain America. So he was bulked up and big, and he shows up, and I'm like, damn, Billy's burly. All right, let's go into wardrobe fitting. See, that was not the character I imagined. But the second he walked onto frame, when we put the jeans on him and the clothes, and you saw him physically change from Billy Magnuson to the character, which Billy has the talent to do, you were like, oh, this is a different thing. This is not what I imagined on the page. And suddenly that informs so many other, it's like a ripple in a pond that kind of spreads out, and that informs everything. That then informs this character, what this character does, how that character even touches Billy changes, because physicality is totally different. So again, the movies tell you what they need to be, and you just have to be able to accept it. And kind of it's like a boxing match. You kind of got to move. It's a dance. You got to move with the movie. And but I mean, and then on top of that, locations never turn out to be what you want. When you write locations in your mind and you show up and it's like the racetrack we were talking about. Well, in my mind, I'd shot listed a baseball game. Well, I'd photograph a baseball game way differently than I'd photograph a racetrack. Yeah. So all those things are constantly challenging you to reassess your creative intent and what. But, if not everybody writes their stuff, but even if you're not the writer of your stuff, as long as you know the story you're telling and what the intent is of every scene and what the thematic purpose is of the story you're trying to tell, then those things come up and the movie just gets better because you find things that are more organic, like Billy's physicality or the
and then
race
you also
car.
Justify why it's better.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is actually even better than I had originally planned because XYZ.
Well, you know why it's because it's real. Yeah. And the realness starts to seep in. And if you let the realness seep in, then this idea that you had sitting in your office or on your laptop, it just becomes three-dimensional and human. And isn't that what we're all searching for in cinema is humanity. And I think those are the things that you have to let seep in. And if you try to wrestle the movie into the idea that you had on your laptop, it's going to feel mechanical.
Yeah. Speaking of Billy, I think I'm just curious about the conversations you guys had in terms of, and going to your rattlesnake metaphor with the character. Is that something you or him discussed in terms of his character, and was it a slow bubbling for his character? That, I don't want to give any spoilers, but good. Kind of like a Walter White-esque type of character where it was always there, or do you think there was a clear turning point?
I mean, these are conversations Billy and I had at length. And quite frankly, I think the most creative conversations we had as director and actor were surrounding the rattlesnake motif that you're talking about, the theme. And there's a scene in the movie where he has a monologue about the theme and the motif of this rattlesnake and what it means for his character arc and the family that he's in this world. And we were pretty meticulous. I mean, I'd probably had 70 versions of that monologue written over the years. And when Billy came on, Billy had very particular ideas about what he thought the monologue should be, and his ideas were really good. And quite frankly, a lot of the snake stuff was straight out of Billy, and it was just me riffing off his ideas. And I think on the day too, when you watch that monologue scene that we're talking about, most of that is Billy just kind of riffing. And to be quite frank, again, I'm not precious. I'm an editor, so I'm used to rewriting and re-editing.
Yeah.
And so when I got into the edit bay, or not when I even got in, when I was on set and he started, it's like truth is truth. And so like whether or not it's my words or it's Billy's words doesn't matter as long as the truth is there.
Yeah, definitely.
And Billy brought something very specific and very truthful and honest in that moment. And it was a constant revision. A lot of the movie, the dialogue, the writing was pretty constant from production draft to the final edit. That snake motif that you're talking about was the most challenged and the most like talked about and creatively kind of batted back and forth between Billy and I. And yeah, it was, a lot of credit goes to Billy because he understood that character in a way that was deep and honest, and I think you see that in that scene and that motif through the movie in particular.
Yeah. No, I specifically was curious about that journey too, because I loved Breaking Bad, but also this next film I'm making has like an anti-hero. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I just wonder about the creative decisions for both the director and the actor in terms of, do they pick a turning point or do they let it bubble up? And like, obviously we want the audience to, choose for themselves.
Sure.
Or maybe not.
I think, I don't know Vince Gilligan and what he did on Breaking Bad and what's his name, who plays Walter White?
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, thank you. I would guess Bryan Cranston picked a moment. I would guess. I don't know that Bryan and Vince had that conversation. Billy and I didn't really have that explicit conversation. I know Billy subconsciously was picking a moment.
Okay.
And I could feel it as a director watching a performer. And certainly there's a moment in the movie where there's a no turning back moment. When you're talking about a character like Walter White or Lucas Frost, these are both characters who are going from, morally sound to morally bankrupt. Yes, there's a moment. But these things, these changes in us don't happen like a light switch. They happen gradually. And this movie is very much about that gradual stacking of shit that is just building up on top of Billy's character until the point where, very much this movie is he's pushed into a corner and there's no turning back for him. Walter White is a little different, obviously, but you're talking ultimately about the nature versus nurture thing, and both the Breaking Bad and this movie deal with that thing. And I don't know that I have the answer where the turning point happens.
Yeah, what the conversations or like thought processes were. Yeah.
It was the most talked about aspect of the movie. Because that really is the movie. In particular with Billy's character is like, you have to believe, first of all, casting wise, that was a big challenge. Was like, we needed an actor who could be both likable, charismatic, lovable, but also believable and frighteningly, intimidating. Yeah. That's not easy for an actor to do.
And you made an offer, so you had to like trust that, right?
Yes, I made an offer. It was offer only. Billy did not audition. However, I had edited a movie with Billy.
Where you saw that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a comedy. But I'm telling you, in the dailies, watching Billy's performance, I'm like, oh, this guy's got such a deeper well.
Okay.
And like, I don't know if you've worked in comedy a lot. Is your movie a comedy? Is it a?
It's a dark comedy. My first one was like a coming of age rom-com.
Okay,
but not straight comedy.
So I came up as an editor mostly on comedy. I don't know how I got into that vein because I'm not necessarily a comedy guy. I would make comedies. I guess The Send-Off is a dark comedy. I'm dark, as you can see by Violent Ends. But like, the truth of the matter is, when you're editing comedy and you're mining comedy performance, there's two types of comedians. There's the comedians who can say funny things, which can be funny. Then there's comedians who say the funny things, but underneath the funny thing is the humanity. And a lot of times that humanity is dark. And that's just a thing about comedy. I think comedy comes from a place of self-preservation, and that inherently is dark. And I'm not even saying dark comedy, but Billy has that in him. Maybe it's not a darkness, it's a depth. And so it's like he can say funny things, but beneath the funny thing is 3 layers of irony, you know? And that's like what I saw in Billy. And I when I was cutting him, I was like, okay, this guy, he can do anything. And, you know, he's got a theater background. So like I knew he had the chops. Yeah. Went to North Carolina School of the Arts, I believe, and came up in theater.
Yeah, I started in theater. So that's like where my first love was.
Yeah. And so, you know, as you know, when you're acting for the stage, you're breaking down character in a very deep, kind of different way than you are for some TV roles and movie roles. It's just a different process.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I saw it when I was editing Billy. I saw the darkness, and I was like, this guy can do it.
Yeah, I love it.
And so then you've got to have an actor who can pivot on the pendulum between darkness and light, and Billy did. And once that character switches, you've got to believe them. And I think, for better or worse, like Violent End succeeds exponentially at that because Billy brought it.
Yeah,
and
no,
like
he was incredible.
He can kind of smile at you and give you a hug and make you feel good, and then also put his hands around your throat, and you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So it's a gift. Not every actor can do that.
Yeah, I mean, also good on you for being able to catch that and see that.
I mean, yeah, some of it is that. I think a lot of it is just the movie telling you what it needs to be.
True,
and Billy shows up, and he's a professional. And
then with Alexandra Shipp, because you talked about in one of your interviews about how much that chemistry between them matters, and I 100% agree. You have to believe that. And they don't even have that much on-screen time together.
Like none.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But it's incredible because I really do feel, and this is a testament to Alex, is she's maybe got 11, 12 minutes of screen time in the movie. I guarantee, I defy anyone. Most people watching this movie would probably balk when they hear that she's only in the movie for 11 minutes because she has such a presence on the film.
She does.
And she truly is. I said it from the get-go. The movie dies if you don't cast that role right. And because she becomes the crux for everything, for his entire metamorphosis and his entire thematic change. And she's just such a damn good human being. She's such a light and such the minute she stepped on set, everybody was like, there was an exhale of stress.
So did you have chemistry reads between them?
No.
You just
No,
knew?
I know. I know. I
Worked.
didn't. And this is like, I think about, you know, the Sean Bakers where you're saying, I finally got to make no compromise. I would love to have a chemistry read on the next one and get even the opportunity to have auditions. That's not really, I mean, we auditioned for some of the day player
that was
roles.
actually one of my questions. I was just wondering if like it was mostly offers or because you had such an ensemble.
Mostly offers.
Wow,
I mean,
that's
certainly
crazy,
for the main 5-ish roles,
Okay.
Billy, Nick, Alex, James Badgedale, Kate were all offers. Ray McKinnon, who plays, has a bit part, a cameo, all offer only.
Was that through you or your casting director? Or
casting director.
Okay.
Casting director was all of them. I lied. And I want to give Nick Stahl a lot of credit because we were actually negotiating with another actor. Nick Stahl sent in a self-tape.
Oh.
And I saw the self-tape and I was like, this guy's the guy.
Oh,
he's
knew.
incredible.
Wow.
And so I got to give Nick a lot of credit because like he really killed it in that. He kills it in the movie. He's incredible, and I love him as a human being now. But mostly offers and then speaking of the Alexandra Shipp of it all is to go back to your original point was that chemistry. I don't know. I think there are some actors, some people who can get along with a wall. Yeah. And Alex is that person, and she brings that out in other people. And her and Billy were like fish. Like the second they met each other, they just had an instant chemistry. And it was one of those things where we're like, oh, well, that worked out.
Thank
Glad
God.
we didn't have to stress about that because it's in the DNA from the jump.
That's awesome. And then in terms of scheduling, you were talking about scheduling around the actor's performance, which I find so interesting because I did that too with my first feature. Yeah. It's like prioritizing. And so yeah, go ahead and talk about that because.
No, I mean, I'm sure it's just every dramatic story has a rhythm and everything, especially when you're talking about a movie. This is a movie about a character, like I said, going from morally sound to morally bankrupt. Those choices have to be thought about strategically when you're scheduling. You don't want to put that stuff too early in the schedule, but then you don't want to put that stuff too late in the schedule because you want the actors and the crew and everybody to have the energy.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance where you're trying to find the right day. And then, of course, okay, if you have a 4-week shoot and you go, well, I don't want to do it on week 1, but I don't want to do it on week 2, but I don't want to do it on week 4. So week 3 is the sweet spot. Okay, well, then you might find that in week 3, you don't have this actor because that actor's off shooting a TV show. Oh, in that location, we can only have on week 2. So then you don't get to pick all the time.
Yeah.
And so then it's like making a movie is like literally trying to solve a Rubik's Cube that is constantly has somebody changing the puzzle every day as you go.
Yeah.
So it's like every second the Rubik's Cube is shifting and you've got to figure out how to be one up ahead of the thing shifting on you. And so if that's the case, you just kind of have to find the right moments that fit in the puzzle. And to me, you know, there's some scenes in this movie that take place in a barn. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a very key, and that was kind of the linchpin scene in our movie where we knew this is a big scene. It's like kind of a 7-8 minute scene, 13 minute in the edit, probably 7 by the time it was done. So it's like a big scene, and it's trying to figure out how to fit that into the puzzle so that specifically Billy, because that's really his scene.
Yeah.
It's at the right time of day. The weather's right. It's not too cold. We're comfortable, but we're not too comfortable. And we've got energy, but not too much energy, and too much time to think because then we overthink things and then it's stale and it's hard. You have to find the right moment. And I think, you know, you do the best you can. I think we found the right moment. I think Billy delivered in spades in that scene. So obviously it worked out. But I've been on other productions where you get into a scene and you're like, well, we should have shot this on the first week. We were better on the first week than we are on the third week. And that's scary. That's the worst when you're on set and you go, okay, well, we're screwed. What are we going to do?
Who are you making these creative decisions with? Are you thinking about it before, or, you know, do you have your AD kind of in these talks, or producers? Yeah,
producers, AD, cinematographer as well. Yeah, we're all, it seems to be that the recurring theme for me is my core team tends to be my 2 producers, my DP, and my AD. I had different ADs on both of these movies. Both great ADs in their own right. But a lot of time the AD is off like handling the stuff that I can't handle. So a lot of times it would come down to line producer, who is also my producer. Okay. And us sitting around trying to figure out the schedule. And then every now and then Billy. And like, you know, Billy was an EP on this movie and he had some, you know, creative input and say, and, you know, it's not like he's making the end-all be-all call, but I'll run stuff by him. I'll be like, look, we got this scene. It's a pretty big scene. What do you think about doing it on this day? If he's like, you know what, we're doing that other scene before that. I'm not going to, you know. Yeah. To me, it's about communicating and, you know, keeping an open line of dialogue between you and your creatives and not feeling like, I don't know, that you have to, again, manhandle the thing. Yeah. It's a creative collaboration.
Well, you both want the best performance, so it's like that is a conversation.
One would hope. Yeah. One would hope, yeah.
In terms of casting, how far in advance did you start doing that? Or like thinking about that? Like, did you already start having those thoughts before your casting director came on, or?
Yeah, I'm a lister. I like put together lists.
Me too, yeah.
And I like to daydream. I also put together mood boards with actors to see what their pairings look like. So I'll do a lot of Photoshop mood boards kind of thing and go through different iterations of actors. I mean, on the new movie that I'm putting together, it's an ensemble. I probably have 30, there's like 7 or 8 main key roles. I probably have 30 people.
Wow, yeah.
That listed that I'm like, oh, these people fit the bill. So I'm a big lister and I thinking about things. I want to say all the actors that are in this movie were on my list. So like, I feel fortunate that way. Yeah.
Congrats. That's huge.
Yeah. I want to say that's, I mean,
but you waited till your casting director came on to like.
Yeah, but then my casting director, you know, like Lindsey I actually went to college with Lindsey, who's now, you know, a big hoity-toity casting director. She's doing big movies, like big movies. She was kind enough and gracious enough to work on this little movie with us, but the beauty of casting directors is they see everybody. You know, obviously I'm only seeing what I'm exposed to on screen. Right. And I watch a lot of stuff, but not, I mean, it's just different. And so they would expose us to people that I never had even an inkling about. The beauty of that is, and what I love about the process is I'm constantly adding people to my list. So now I'm like, even yesterday we had a table read for this movie that I'm producing, and There's a main lead actor and the main character. Then there was this kid over in the corner who only plays one scene where I was like, that guy is fucking great. I'm like, what is it? I looked him up, Googled him afterwards. I'm like, all right, you're on my list, buddy.
I love that.
Like, if ever there's a role, I'm going to keep you in mind because he's just talented. And that's what the beauty of what I do love about working with casting directors. I think you have to have your ideas, in mind, but
be open to the expert.
Absolutely, and be open to like a Nick Stahl who comes along and puts in a self-tape. I just said everybody was on my list. Well, Nick wasn't on my list, but Nick blew me away, and certainly Nick was in my mind because I've seen a lot of Nick roles. I've seen him work, and I already was a fan of his to begin with. But yeah, the casting director process is daunting but beautiful because you just get exposed to so many people you would never have gotten exposed to.
Okay, one last question about casting because I need to move on.
Sure.
Just because there's so many questions I have. I want to.
No worries.
But who was the first person you cast? And also, was there like someone attached that you felt like really picked up the momentum for the casting, or did it just like gradually grow?
That's a good question. Who was the first person we cast? I know you're asking me.
You don't have to know the answer to that.
I want to unpack this and go back in my mind 2 years and figure out who in the casting. Because I know, I'll tell you this about the casting, was strategically, there's always a strategy to casting about putting the puzzle together. So it's like, okay, you could try to go get your lead actor and hope that you get Leonardo DiCaprio, and then everybody else in the world wants to act with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
Great. If you're a relatively unknown filmmaker like myself, well, most people aren't going to be dropping everything they're doing to come work with me, right? I've got to prove myself. So there's a strategy where you go, we're going to go get the lead actor and that's going to all trickle out. Okay, but then your lead actor has to take a chance on you because generally that lead actor, especially a Billy Magnuson, he's working a lot.
Yeah.
So if he's going to make the choice to come work with me, he's kind of taking a chance on me and going, well, I haven't really seen anything this guy's done, but I believe in him. Okay. Well, then there's the other strategy where you go, okay, well, actually we're going to get the mom role, or we're going to get the Alexandra Shipp role, because we know a lead actor will be excited to know who he's working with in that role. So then one piece of the puzzle will lead to another piece of the puzzle. So there's all these strategies.
I'm smiling because this is literally what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So like everyone told me to go after the lead, but my mind was like, no, because I only made one film. It wasn't the Sundance Darling. So like, I feel like I need to build out the really incredible ensemble that the lead actor will be excited to work with.
Well, and then there's all these expectations that you might have and think strategically makes sense that then proved to not be. I mean, for us, it was even our casting director, who's like I said, Lindsay's done many, many movies. She knows the process.
Yeah.
She also knows the good thing about casting directors is they really have relationships with these people. They understand the temperature of the room. And we all thought, well, the Darlene role would be the mom role, Lucas's mom, Billy's mom, would be the easiest to cast because it's a 50 to 60-year-old woman playing a detective, a sheriff in a small town. Generally, those ladies don't get those roles anymore. They don't get those offers. And we thought, even our casting director was like, well, there's a laundry list of amazingly talented actors for that role, and it just proved not to be the case. What proved to be true was that I think a lot of actresses in that age range, if you were offering them, a role to be in a kind of ensemble of this scale, most of the women that fit the bill, they're working actresses. I'm 43. The older I get, the more comfortable I get, the harder it is to get off the couch. If you've got CSI, whatever, money coming in, and you get offered, I'm going to go shoot this movie in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas, in the winter or in like fall. And it just proved to not be the case that, a laundry list of actresses would just be like chomping at the bit to get a part like this. Now, it all worked out, and we ended up with Kate Burton, who's an amazing actor, who I'd worked with before. I'd edited a movie with Kate and knew she was great. And so it all worked out, but we kind of left that role to the last because we thought it would be pretty simple and we would fill out the cast around and then go. Well, we ended up casting Kate 3 days before production.
Oh my God.
She literally got thrown into the fire
Oh,
because we kind of left it to the last minute because we thought it would be simple. Well, we thought, we'll make an offer or two and we'll find someone. Well, don't count your chickens before they hatch, as my mother likes to say. That chicken did not hatch. And so, but all's well that ends well. But it's sometimes you think you have an idea of strategy and sometimes it blows up in your face.
Yeah, which is like every single movie is different in terms of how it gets made.
It's all different.
Which is why I'm obsessed with like hearing all about it and all the different
I mean, I definitely
–
maybe Billy was the first person we cast really that kind of filled out. It could have been Nick Stahl. It was either Nick or Billy. But definitely James Badgedale was probably there. I think it was Nick Stahl and James Badgedale, first of all, who came along. And then Alex came after Billy, and then Kate came last. Wow. And then Ray came. With Ray, we shot his days the last 2 days of production. Oh, wow. I think I cast him halfway through production. And,
what? That's crazy.
That one was a favor I called in from a mutual friend who had worked with him before. And he made a phone call, and Ray was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come out to Arkansas for a day." And
amazing. Okay. Oh my God, time is.
Sorry, am I?
No, it's not you. It's me. There's so many things I just wanted to ask you, but okay. Really quick, why did you choose not to edit this since you're an editor?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a lie. I did edit a little bit. Okay. So I'm not credited as the editor, but the editor on this movie is my assistant editor who I've worked with for many years, Mark Gasparo, who's great. Mark cut the send-off with me in similar fashion. The way we work is he does the first cut and then I do the second cut. And then we kind of just like battle it. We bat it back and forth with each other. He does some stuff, I do some stuff. And then I kind of take it and do the final finesses to get it into a place. But look, I think
it's still a collaboration, but
it's definitely a collaboration. And as a filmmaker, you need someone to come in and be objective. Yeah. Especially if the myopia of being on set for 30 days and then prep many weeks more. You lose track, you lose sight, and you need someone to come in and go. And to Mark's credit, there's sequences in that movie that Mark edited that I never conceived that way, that I saw and I was like, you know what, that's the way it was meant to be.
I love it.
It's like I wrote it that way, right? Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. And then how did you get Anthony Willis as your composer?
I've known
the score was incredible.
Oh, thank you.
But also, like, Anthony Willis is incredible too.
Anthony's incredible. Yeah, Anthony's a sweetheart. I actually saw him day before, and he just got in town. He just finished up Wuthering Heights, which maybe comes out this week. But Anthony's an old friend. I've known him for years. Nice. A mutual friend of my producer, Vincent Sieber, and we met through Vincent and have just been friends. I've known Anthony since he was working. He used to work with John Powell, no relation to myself, which is a running joke with us. But he used to work I've known him since he was assisting for John Powell. And Hans Zimmer, he would bounce around to all the biggies, and you'd always hear Anthony's cue end up in one of the scenes, and it would be fun. But Anthony's just an immensely talented. I don't throw the word around often, but genius. He's just like have you seen Amadeus? Mm-mm. Do you know the movie? Oh, you got to go see Amadeus. Okay. It's fantastic. Milos Forman. But anyway, in Amadeus, he's the character Amadeus Mozart is constantly riffing in his head. There's many scenes where he's like, wouldn't it be better if it was like da 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 da, and he just kind of like talks through his process constantly. And Anthony I'm like constantly having conversations with Anthony. I'm like, so that's scene in one battle after another, and I'll talk for 5 minutes, and then Anthony will just kind of look at me. I go, you're thinking about music, aren't you? He's like, sorry, I was rewriting this thing in my head, and it's just like he's just a creative genius, and I can't wait to see Wuthering Heights. I'm sure the music is incredible. I've seen snippets that he's sent me.
Yeah. Well, I love Emerald Fennell, and so
she's
her scores with Anthony. Saltburn score especially.
Well, Saltburn, I really love Saltburn. Anthony also did the music for a tiny little horror movie called The Hive, which I think is a fantastic score from like 10, 15 years ago. But Saltburn in particular had an impact on Violent Ends because he had finished Saltburn when we were doing Violent Ends, and I'd heard the soundtrack, and there's that cue that's like, and it has the big drop or whatever. I think it's when they're going through the maze. And I was like, this is just too damn good. Like, there's something here, especially with Emma, Alexandra Shipp's character. There's a femininity to Violent Ends that is not externally there. It's subtextual. And I thought so much of the music needs to be bringing the femininity up because the masculinity is in your face with this movie. I was like, truly the core of the movie is the women of the movie. I know it may not seem that way, but truly it is the females of this world that make the engine, run and the theme run. And so the music was so much of that. It was like, how can we bring out, there's a lot of, we have this amazing singer on the soundtrack that Anthony brought in to do.
I heard, I know what
She's
you're talking about.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, that's like, as soon as you said Saltburn had a
yes,
inspo,
which was,
I'm like, that's what I saw the connections of.
Certainly. Anthony loves his angelic
I love it
choral.
Too. It's so good.
It's beautiful. But
Yeah.
Anthony's amazing, and he's a dear friend. And
that's cool.
he's going to do the next one too. So
I love that.
yeah, hopefully I always work with him.
And then in terms of distribution,
yeah.
So, okay, well, I already heard a story where you said you got rejected from all the film festivals, which is insane.
Got rejected from all.
But then
of
you
them.
had 10 offers.
And then we had yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes.
I love stories like that.
It's great. I would have loved to go to the film festivals, but
that's also insane, especially like just given the talented cast and like it just.
Well, you think too. Yeah. This is the again. You're like. I said earlier, it's interesting how we're so fixated on a budget, a number, and say, how big is that budget? Is it 30 million? Is it 2 million? Is it 50? It doesn't matter. It's similar. I think we focus on, well, to get into the film festival, you need the actor or the certain scale, level of, attention that's going to get you there. And that's not always the case. I mean, and the thing is like, I've had many movies at Sundance, South by, all of them as an editor, and I've been to all of them. Every year, the programming philosophies are changing. You might not fit in that year.
Yeah.
It is not an indication that your movie is not good. I think Violent Ends is a great example of that. And I as frustrating as it was to go through that process, I mean, I because I'd come up as an editor for many years, I've fostered relationships at all these festivals. And, like I would get letters from, the Sundances and the people that I know there. And they would say, we love the movie. It's great. It's just we don't have a spot for it because it doesn't fit. And that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Then you get over 700 theaters.
Yes. And that's because, and this is another misconception that we as filmmakers, independent filmmakers, almost betroth upon the Sundances and the South Bys and the Tribecas and all that stuff, is that they are the gateway to these things when they aren't the gateway to these things. I'm sure or you've talked to people. 90% of the movies at Sundance don't sell. We're all in the same boat. There's only so many distributors, only so many screens in the country, shrinking every day.
Yeah.
And so, Sundance is not in the business of choosing what's going to be commercially viable. I think you'd have to talk to the Kim Utanis of the world and talk to them about how they strategically pick things. I'm sure some of that is what's commercial and what's going to garner attention. But I think every one of them have their own philosophies. And look, a movie about vengeance, a violent vengeance film about, rural Arkansas, maybe just didn't fit the bill for Sundance. I mean, it's not really going in. We never really thought of ourselves as a Sundance movie. We kind of thought South by was like our vibe because it's Texas. We're Texas adjacent. South by does tend to skew a little bit more commercial. And this is the thing. Is like all these festivals have their reputation, their personality traits. It's like being at the table in high school. Like everybody has their own clique and their own vibe. Yeah. There's the goths, there's the jocks, there's the
Yeah.
And but for whatever reason, we didn't have a clique. But I think it's a testament to that. Look, we went through the festival process. It was gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, all that. Then our sales reps at UTA and XYZ had a buyer screening here in LA right after South by 2024. So last year. Was it last year? Yeah, 2025, sorry. And every buyer and their mother showed up at the screening. There was like A24, like Netflix, all of them. All the buyers were in town. And it was, I think, a lot of things that led to that happening. It was a slow year at South by and Sundance. So there weren't a lot of purchases that year. And so they were eager for something that was commercial. Well, we were commercial and we fit the bill. We had a cast that was of a certain level. And we were fortunate. Our sales reps, I remember going into that screening, that buyer screening, they were like, don't get your hopes up. It's a bad market. We're gonna work on this and we're gonna pound the pavement, but it'll take a while to get an offer. We will get an offer. There's too many people here not to get a single offer. But it's gonna be hard.
Got 10
within a week.
That's
I think we
incredible.
had, mostly, we knew, I think, within the week that we're like, all right, we had IFC kind of circled, but then we went through the process of meeting every distributor, talking with them. There were a lot of great distributors that I hope I can work with again in the future, because some of the teams were awesome and I love them. But IFC just came in and they got the movie, they had the brand.
That's so
it was
important.
like, I knew through my wife's childhood, knew Scott Schumann, who runs IFC. So
cool.
I knew Scott. So it was the right fit for us. And and they ended up putting the movie in 700 theaters.
That's
and you're
incredible.
like, well, who needs Sundance or who needs
No, it's so true though. That's why I love that story. That's such a success story. That's so cool.
I think more and more today, what the beauty of Sundance, what it was in the 80s and 90s was the democratization of cinema. Like they brought independent cinema to audiences in a way that the studios had a stranglehold on. Now, in the world we live in, with digital filmmaking,
there's so many avenues.
It's democratized upon democratized upon democratized. There's no one path anymore. I think that's good and bad, but everything's constantly shifting and changing, and I just don't think you have to rely upon these old models to get your movie out. I mean, we're a testament to that.
Yeah. When did your sales agent come on board?
Billy. So when Billy was cast, he was at UTA. They came on board, but then we also had a personal relationship with XYZ, so we had a weird situation where we had 2 reps.
Oh.
So we had UTA and XYZ co-repping.
Was that a weird breakdown in terms of percentage, or?
No, it was they split the percentage.
Oh, cool.
And it was amicable. They've done it in the past. It works out. Okay. Pros and cons to having split representation worked out for us. Both entities, UTA and XYZ, were great. I love both of them. I would work with them both again. That was what was right for us. We were like kind of in between a big and a small movie. And so UTA is the big dog, and XYZ felt a little bit more like indie, like roll up your sleeves. So we're like, it'd be nice to have both kind of eyes and ears in the room.
Do you think having those both is what led to the 10 offers, or?
Yeah, I mean, they clearly delivered.
Yeah.
So I don't know who was doing the lion's share. These are all relationships that they foster. Right. They know all these distributors and these buyers, and so hard to say, but it worked out for us, and I felt cared for by both teams, and I'm friends with both teams, and I like both teams. So
that's awesome.
Worked out. Yeah.
If you're enjoying the next film and want to help us keep making the show, we're now accepting tax-deductible donations through our partner, the Alliance of Women Directors. This helps us keep sharing honest conversation, insights, and practical tools free and accessible to artists. The link is in the show notes, or you can visit allianceofwomendirectors.org/fiscal-sponsorship. This episode is brought to you by executive producer Jeffrey Weber. So what lesson do you think was the biggest from the send-off that helped you on Violent Ends? And then my next question is going to be what's your biggest lesson you're taking from Violent Ends into your next one?
Ooh, yeah. The biggest lesson that I took from the send-off into Violent Ends.
It doesn't have to be the biggest. That's a lot of pressure. But,
it's
things that come to mind.
The answer is much like you were like, is there a pivot point from when someone becomes good to bad? It's like there is no real pivot. It's a gradation of things, right? It's a whole litany of things that you learn. I think, with the send-off, let's put it this way. With the micro-budget movie, I felt empowered. And I learned, okay, I can do this. Because I had edited movies. I certainly knew the formula of them. I was like, I know how to make a decent movie. I can do that functionally. But I didn't know that I could command a set in that way and budget and schedule and do all the business stuff that a director has to, balance in order to get everything in the can and make it to the last day. I think the send-off was pure survival, right? It was pure, let's just see if we can get through this alive. Once I got through the send-off alive, I was like, damn it. I knew how to do this all along. I didn't have to focus on surviving. Now on the next one, I want to focus on craftsmanship and, the filmmaking stuff that I just had to neglect by proxy of, the belly of the beast of making a micro-budget movie. Is just don't have time.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned was you can focus on the creative and let other people do things. Going back to the delegating. So I guess this wraps into delegating. On Violent Ends, I delegated and I let other people kind of shepherd in their departments, and I focused more on the relationships and the craft. Because I really do think so much of this business is relationships. And it's just, if you're going to be stuck on set with someone, you want to feel like you're part of you want it to feel like film camp. Yeah. That's when it's at its best. When it feels like film camp, it's great. When it's not, it sucks.
Yeah. Well, I think you can feel it through the screen too. When it feels like film camp.
100%. Yeah. You can feel it. Yeah. There's a care there. There's a yeah. Although I don't know, I've worked on some movies that were that were torturous, and then you watch the final movie and you're like,
prove me wrong.
Damn, it's good. It's really good. How did that happen? But and then what is, circling back to your question, what is the thing that I'm taking away
From
for Violent Ends and doing on the next one is, I think with Violent Ends, it was always, the goal was, I wanted to tell a very simple story and tell it well.
Mm-hmm.
So narratively, we're leaning into genre conventions. I mean, it's a revenge thriller. If you're out for blood and you like those types of things, you're going to like Violent Ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to serve that up in spades. I think there, again, going back to the femininity of the movie, I think there is a tenderness under there that most people probably don't see at surface level.
No, I don't think it was. I mean, I've seen very just like straight up masculine movies, but I don't think it was like all masculine. I do think that there was like a complexity and nuance to it that I really enjoyed.
I hope so.
Although I did have a very scary dream that night where I killed someone.
Oh no. Okay. Well.
No, but
don't do that.
I'm very suggestible when I watch a movie at night.
Sure. And yeah. And look, I think Violent Ends is servicing an audience. If you like those types of movies, if you're that audience, you're going to love Violent Ends. If revenge thrillers aren't your thing, or you're looking for something that's mold breaking in some way, Violent Ends just was never meant to be that, for better or worse. On the next one, I really want to make something that now takes the confidence that I've built visually as a visual storyteller, and then services a story that is much more complex and much more, genre bending and trying to push the narrative buttons in ways, because I knew when I made Violent Ends that I didn't want to be the guy, like, if all goes well and I actually get to make another movie, I knew I didn't want to be the guy who was making revenge thrillers. And I knew, because you know how this business is, that the next offers or the next opportunities were all going to be like Violent Ends 2 Electric Boogaloo. And I don't want to make Violent Ends 2 Electric Boogaloo. So the goal is, I've gone from flying by the seat of my pants with the send-off, proving that I can make it and get to the finish line, to, I can actually curate, an image, and I have an attention to the filmmaking, format in a way that is scale. It can play in 700 theaters. If I can take that and then put it into something that feels like my original voice in a way that feels unique, that's kind of the goal. And to kind of, I think continue pushing the boundaries narratively. I think that's where the most growth for me, I want to happen, is like, I think I'm a very capable writer, but I really want to show people that I can push, my writing in places that are unexpected. And I think if I do that, then naturally the foundation that I've built as a visual storyteller will continue to grow in ways that I don't even expect. And then hopefully, it keeps evolving and changing, and
that's the point too, right?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Again, I'll be on my deathbed going, I don't know what this was all for, but I had a fun time.
Well, it's really exciting. I'm excited to watch this journey because I'm also excited to see what you do next.
I'm excited to make more things. Hopefully that's in the cards.
I definitely think so.
I hope so.
Okay, last two questions.
Sure.
First one is a question I ask everyone.
Okay.
What advice do you give to someone making their next film?
Ooh, what advice do I give to someone making their next film? I would just say, just don't take no for an answer, is what I would say. Is just, it's going back to the very beginning of our conversation, and we were talking about being an actor and getting punched in the face every day, and being a creative is just, you have to be relentless. And being relentless is exhausting, but you have to work the muscle out every day. And just walk out into the firing squad every day. So, like, I would say don't take no for an answer, with the caveat of be a good collaborator, obviously. Yeah. So that's like, just, I think you have to go in with vision and go in with intent, and just stay true to that intent. It's probably going to go sideways, but you just got to stay true to what the spark was and what the intent was and the excitement was originally. And if you do that, I think you're going to come out on the other end with something good, something compelling. So
I love that.
Just don't take no for an answer.
All right, and I'm going to add a second to this, just for you specifically, is what advice do you give to someone making their next film that's a jump like yours, from a micro budget to, low 7-figure, like 2, 3, even 1 million?
Yeah, I mean, this is hard. This is probably going to be hard advice for people. Are going to be like, yeah, but how do you do that? It's just like not in our nature. But like, I was just, my producing partner produced the new Chronicles of Narnia movie that's coming out. So, he's been in London the last year, and so I've been, getting all the updates about how things are going on. And Narnia is a massive movie. Greta Gerwig is a massive director.
Yeah.
Even Greta was nervous walking onto the set of Narnia. And I think it's natural to be nervous when you take a leap. I mean, even she's taking a leap. And I know it seems like us peons, the idea of leaping to that level is, but of course the stress and the worry that you're going to fail is going to be there. That's always going to belie any creative thing that you do. But I think that you just have to you have to remember it's just a movie. It's just a movie. Even Narnia at the end of the day. And I know there's lots of money on the line and there's lots of investments here and there, but we're making movies. Yeah. Like ultimately you make a movie because you want to have a conversation with someone. You want to share that and go, isn't it cool? Isn't this dramatic comedy or this, rom-com that I made? Isn't that cool because I like this rom-com or I like this and I had this experience growing up. We're just trying to communicate with people and connect with people. So at the end of the day, all the stress that goes into the scheduling and walking on set and dealing with actors who are, stressed, it's just a movie. It's just a conversation that we're creating. And yeah, there's a lot on the line, but like also there's not.
Yeah.
There's not. Like I can tell you, even like at the end of the day, Violent Ends is out in 700 theaters. We did a ton of press. We're like doing all these things. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. And at the end of the day, I sit down and have dinner with my kids and like watch another movie. It's not the end all be all. So like that would be if you're leveling up in that way, I promise you can do it. And all the stress you're putting on your shoulders, it's not real. At the end of the day, trust in the process and trust in the work you've done. You're going to make a good movie.
I love that. That's so inspiring. Well, thank you so much for being here. I truly am excited to see what you do next. I really enjoyed Violent Ends. And and really quick, you said the send-off, you're going to work on getting it out there because
that's a longer conversation. No, the send-off is not out there right now. We had a distributor who put the movie out a few years back when we were after Dances with Films, we sold the movie. And that's a lesson learned is like there's a lot of distributors out there who, they're a volume business. They pick up these small indie movies and they kind of bank on I know the send-off, they even said this on our call, the distributor was like, well, we bank on filmmakers going on we buy films for filmmakers who we think are going to continue to grow. Because obviously that little movie becomes more valuable down the line when that filmmaker's made other films. The downside is there's a lot of distributors out there who just don't really care about the movie and because they're in a volume business. I get it. Their business is hard. Yeah. It's a tough thing to distribute independent movies. They're slapping it up on iTunes or wherever people are renting movies, Amazon, Tubi, etc. The thing is, you and I can do that. And like the business, again, talking about the democratization of independent cinema. Nowadays, I don't need you to go upload the movie. I can do that. And why am I giving you, what little pennies we're making here? Why should they all be going to you when I can just do that myself? Yeah. So a lot of that is taking ownership of what I made and saying like, this is such a small little thing that like, I don't need the IFCs of the world to go, trumpet this. We'll own it ourselves and we'll control it. Yeah.
Are you glad though that you had someone pick it up originally?
I'm glad.
Do you think you should have done that from the get-go?
Well, hindsight's I think I should have done it from the get-go. I mean, I was happy at the time because I thought we made this tiny little movie and we sold that movie, got an MG, and we had a distributor, and we were doing all the things that we're supposed to do. Box, That movie went to festivals, and that movie, went to a distributor. We did all the things we were supposed to do, but in hindsight, I think we would have been better off just distributing the movie ourselves. I know more and more. I think I just saw one today where there's a new platform coming out for, distributors or filmmakers to connect directly with their audience.
Attend.
Yeah, Attend is one.
I want to have him on. Yeah, John Fithian.
Yeah. There's a few popping up here and there. I know Robert Schwartzman has one too. They're out there, but like in the world, not to even get into AI, but in the world we're living in today, where so much of technology is moving so quickly into a world where you don't need to have the expertise anymore. Distribution is one of those that's going to be interesting to see how it evolves over the next 10 years because look, I love IFC. There are a lot of things that IFC did that we cannot do, and I love partnering with them, and I would work with IFC again. There are things that IFC does that when I saw the veil and the curtain pulled back, I was like, oh, that's just what I do. You just have a bigger team and they're doing it. Now, I can't do everything myself. I need to delegate.
Yeah.
But there are aspects of the distribution process where it's interesting. I can see models where I could see a reason, depending on the movie, doing it ourselves. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This was a great conversation. I probably could keep going.
I appreciate it.